Hello, everybody. It's Father Edward here, and grateful to be able to talk about a movie coming to theaters through Fathom Events, 5,000 Blankets. And it's a beautiful story. It's actually kind of set in a Christmas-esque way. It falls around Christmas as the movie comes to a close. And so I'm today speaking with Cyndi Bunch and Amin Matalqa, and they are involved with the film. Cyndi, it's based upon your life, and Amin is one of the directors of it. So first of all, can you just share maybe the premise of the movie and then why tell this story?
I'm gonna let Amin take that first. Is that okay?
Sure.
Sure. Well, the premise is basically based, as you mentioned, set in North Texas. It's based on Cyndi Bunch's life, or not her life, but her movement when her husband has a mental breakdown and goes missing, and in her quest with her son to find him, they end up getting involved with the homeless population in the Fort Worth area when her son says, basically, we need to start collecting blankets giving blankets for the homeless. And it starts as a small movement that grows, and in the first year they collected 5,000 blankets. But as I see it, it's not a movie about blankets. It's a movie about human connection and empathy and struggle and triumph, and basically how we can take lemons that are served to us and make them into lemonade. And it's really, I think of it as a Rocky story, someone who gets beaten up and keeps getting back up and on their feet. And that's the universal theme of the movie.
All right. And in the film, there's an aspect of faith. This is an Affirm film, which is a faith-based company. They've given movies such as War Room and such, but it's not an overtly faith-based movie. There's the scenes of the pastor and such, and really helping the homeless is one of these commands of Jesus. He says, clothe the naked, feed the hungry. So this is what you're doing. And I guess, what role do you see the faith aspect having in the film?
Well, if it wasn't for my faith, I would have never, ever gotten through that part of my life. I was given a book, and the book was called The Purpose-Driven Life. And I read that book back to back, I would say 100 times, just trying to say, okay, it's going to be okay. I mean, we lost everything. We owned everything. We were down to nothing. And it was just like, I know God is going to get me through this. I know he is. And I've always had faith. I've never lost faith. I mean, that is what carries me, faith.
One of the inspiring things in the movie, I thought, was the pastor, was preaching a message of scripture. And I wrote this in my review that the scripture is going to hit the person in a different way. So your husband was sitting next to the character, and so he's hearing the scriptures in a different way that you would have been hearing the scriptures. And then the pastor in the movie felt compelled to visit because of reading the scriptures. And again, I just think that's responding to how God is speaking. And I just thought those were a few beautiful faith movements in the movie.
Well, that actually kind of took place in my life, because there was this lady, her name was Betsy Godbold, and I actually met her in a chapel when I was going through one of the hardest times in my life, and I was just looking for some place to pray. And here walks in this pastor, and she sat with me for 2 hours, and she helped get me through a whole lot.
Wow.
Yeah, so that scene is definitely depicted.
Sure. Now, this movie, I think, is going to change people's perception of homelessness. Again, in my review, I wrote that it gives a face to homelessness. And there was a line in there that said something to the effect of, it shows something that we try to really overlook or not see. And what's wish and providing help to the homeless? How do you think this movie is going to impact outreach to those who are on the streets?
Impact our friends on the streets.
Like, I guess, you know, how do you think, will this create a greater movement, a greater response?
Oh,
Do you
I definitely think so. This movie is so well written. I think it hits across the board. It, I don't even know how to say the word. Um, in all religions. I mean, it's going to hit people. It's going to hit people that aren't Christ followers, because everybody's looking to help, but they don't know what to do. So this kind of gives them a picture of how they can take what they have and turn it into good, if that makes sense.
Sure,
To you?
Yeah, definitely. And I guess kind of going off of that, Amin, what was it like for you to produce this film, direct this film? What impact did it have on you personally?
That's a great question. When I came on board, the script had already been written, and when I read it, I just found it very compelling, you know, from every page. So when I got on board, my mission wasn't to make a movie that's trying to preach anything. I was just trying to honestly tell the story through the actions of the characters and let their actions speak to the viewer. But what's most interesting from my own personal experience when we were making the film, you know, making a movie is a very difficult thing. One of my teachers used to say, it's hard to make a bad movie, and it's harder to make a good movie. It's even harder to make a good movie, right? But in the case of this film, which was a pretty small budget, 1.5 million by Hollywood standards, we spent only a month of preparing pre-production, and 17 days. We shot the whole movie with 30 plus locations in 17 days. My experience through the whole process was, how is this going so smoothly? How is it, like, why is it's never this, the flow is never this easy. I mean, it was a hard work, but things were conspiring. There was like a greater hand at work guiding us through the process and bringing all the elements together. And Anna Camp, how she became involved to play the lead, to play Cyndi, and Rob Mays playing her husband. And when we found Carson, who played Philip, everything came together in a way that is beyond our own actions, right? And so if I had any doubts, this movie kind of said, don't have any doubts. There's something great at work. You see what I'm saying?
It was kind of like, you know, and when we were all together on set, it was just beautiful. It was just like you could feel the love from everybody in the cast, from, I mean, the production team, the director, of course. I mean, yeah, you know who I'm talking about. The writers were there. Oh my gosh, just all the act. You could just, it exuded love.
Yeah, it was a beautiful experience for sure.
It really was, and it was just like, one thing I really respect about this, and I don't know if I should even say this, but I'm going to say it anyways. The producer and the director, they actually hired homeless people to play the parts.
Oh, wow.
Some of the,
yeah, we hired the actual homeless because we wanted to give a level of authenticity to the homeless extras in the film. You know, you can't fake the faces. We actually brought the homeless from Fayetteville, and they were wonderful.
And they paid them well, and they paid them really well. And then what really just touched my heart was the way that Amin and Doug Schaefer and Matt Antonelli and Larry Postel actually would sit with these people and talk to them. It was just so beautiful. It was just like, wow.
Wow, that is incredible.
Yeah. Isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And that's something a lot of people probably won't know, but even to have their names, and I'm sure their names then are in the credits even, and what an honor for them to have that. So This movie, 5,000 Blankets, is going to be in theaters as a Fathom release on December 12th and December 13th. So people should check their local listings, get their tickets, and plan to go see this movie that's really going to change your heart and help you really have a heart for the homeless. So thanks so much for the conversation today.
Yeah.
Thank you, Father, for having us.